that kind of idea. So that gives rise to a sense of a need for a subset for the purpose of understanding the population. So this is the part that is often missing. Why are we having a sample? Because we want to study population and we are unable to study the population. Okay, remember why we can't study the population? Don't have time, don't have money, don't have resource, don't have patience, and so on, right? So we want to study the population. That must always be at the top of your mind. We never start measuring and be happy with the sample itself. In other words, all research, all questions, all business planning, all projection, etc. When we talk about, let's say, again, as simplicity, I keep saying the average income of Singaporeans in 2020. All such questions, right, is always about the population. It's never about, oh, I don't have time and resource, so I will just study 10 colleagues around me, and then I will file a final report about those 10 colleagues around me. No, 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 right? Those 10 colleagues around me can form a sample, all right? And their average will then say and declare, right? Their average, the sample average, is then going to be a rough estimate of the population average. Now you might say, wait. If you work in a posh environment where everyone gets high salaries, six-figure salaries, then isn't it that all your colleagues are going to be in that level, and then the average is not going to be representative? You are very right if you are pointing that out, because that just goes into all the knowledge and theory and understanding about how you should select the samples in order to be unbiased, in order to be reflective of the various segments that might be expected in your population, and so on. Yeah, so that's for another discussion. But the important thing is the reason why sample this concept is defined here is because of population. Keep that in mind. All right, we're never going to study sample for the sake of understanding the sample. We are always going to study the sample because we want to understand the population. Now, we will take a subset, but it's not any subset. It will be a subset, first of all, with a sample size that is finite. If it's infinite, then you cannot finish the sample measurements. Then there's no point, right? It requires infinite resource to finish infinite sample size, right? So it's always finite, and it's always going to be as large as possible, because we want the calculations to be as accurate as possible. So n is as large as possible for precision concerns. We like it to be accurate, we like it to be precise. But n will be as small as possible because we don't have money, patience, technology, know-how, people, manpower, time, etc., etc. Right? So the trade-off between these two is where we find the right n. Yeah. Okay. So if, for example, our boss is unhappy, impatient, he or she needs it now, so we'll just ask a few colleagues around. So our sample size is 5, because 5 people happen to be around me. But so is that accurate? Is that a right estimate? No, most likely not. But that's going to settle the other concern, which is no time, right, to finish up all our analysis. So sample size is so small that our available resource can support, but it is as high as possible. So it's not going to be 0 or 1. Yeah, so it is as high as possible in order to salvage back the precision and accuracy. So next thing is, of course, sample data. Sometimes questions might be posted to you and say, the teacher sampled 5 students, all right, and measured their heights, and then declare that the average of all students in the university is of this height. Now, the word randomly sampled was not mentioned, but you should understand it that way. Now, more theoretically correctly, the question should be saying the teacher randomly sampled 5 students instead of just saying the teacher sampled 5 students. Yeah, because when you sample 5 students, just picking all the shorter height students is also sampling, right? Although everyone will be frowning on the results because it seems to be biased towards the a shorter average height for the entire university. That can't be right, right? But that is not wrong when you say that the teacher is sampling. However, if you randomly sample, okay, then kind of like cover your eyes and pick someone from the roster. You, and 5 of you come out. Let's measure your heights. Okay, then it is randomly chosen. It will be more reflective. So in short, all sample data has to be randomly chosen. If you did not, if you purposely based on certain criteria, certain decision, certain preference, then it is biased sampling. And that kind of result will still yield some calculated results. However, it will be frowned upon. It will be less believed. The argument tends not to stand the ground very well, right? Because people will start to point at your data and say, hey, look, you didn't really reflect the other side of the population. Yeah. So make sure that when you are conducting the sampling, you choose sample items randomly. And when you are assessing other people's sampled results, um, like solving a exercise, homework, or exam question, interpret it as randomly chosen. And all sample data are fully known. Okay, again, this I need to say it here because I notice occasionally some students will say, we are trying to estimate the sample mean. No, we are not trying to estimate the sample mean. We are trying to estimate the population mean by exactly, precisely, completely calculating the sample mean. We know everything about the sample, mean, variance, standard deviation, median, everything completely, accurately, without loss of precision. Okay, remember the sample size is chosen small enough so that we always have enough time, manpower, patience, money, technology, know-how, people, etc., to process all the data. Yeah, so we know sample everything completely. Sample variance, sample standard deviation, sample mean. Yeah, so never say something like we are trying to estimate the sample variance. Wrong, wrong, wrong. We can, however, and we are very frequently estimating population mean, population variance, population sample standard deviation, population median. Everything about population is kind of not known to us. We like to know, but we are not sure of it. For example, luxury goods, right? How much, how much on average, let's say, right, are my customers willing to spend? Let's just be a bit more specific. I'm selling watches, luxury watches. So we know, right? They're willing to spend, right? But they also have a budget. So, and they likely won't tell you how much they are willing to spend because it seems like I'm rich, but I don't want to spend a lot, right? So it sounds a bit, not so nice to say that I don't want to spend a lot. But you want to figure out, you as a seller want to figure out how much are they willing to spend. So the question becomes, what's the average budget my customers, my so-called rich customers, have in mind when they come to our shop? Right? So that would be a population of all these, well-to-do customers, and we need to sample from that. Yeah. Okay. So that we can understand the actual average budget that this class of customers has. So that is the reason why we want to perform sampling. Yeah, so it is not just to understand 1, 2, 3 customers, but the entire profile of customers who are potentially coming to our shop. So that will be the reason.